Welcome back. Well, it was yet another long Tulsa Public School Board meeting last night, 1 week after Superintendent Dr. DEBORAH Gist gave her recommendation to the board for how TPS students are going to be learning or could be learning in the second quarter, which included 3 different options, all depending on if COVID-19 cases got better, remained stable, or got worse. The board was supposed to vote on that recommendation last night, but the conversation got tabled, so this morning we're joined by Tulsa Public School Superintendent Dr. DEBORAH Gist. About 5 hours after that meeting ended, long night for you. Thanks for waking up early again and joining us this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Travis.
Yeah, when do you sleep? That's my first question for you. When do you go to sleep?
Well, you know, sleeping is important. It's healthy. Everyone should do it when you can.
and you're telling that to a morning news anchor. So we are 2 people that don't know much about sleep. But I'll jump right into it about this meeting last night. I mean, a meeting even longer than last week's meeting. The one thing that happened was that the conversation got tabled on the board voting about middle and high school students. What should parents and students take away from last night's meeting on that?
Well, I would want them to take a few different things. First of all, I want parents and students to know that the reason that the Board of Education spent so much time talking about this topic, because they believe so much in the importance of education, and they know how serious this is and how much time it deserves. And so for them to know that they have public servants, volunteers who are willing to spend all of that time to make sure that they're having a thorough conversation about safety and about getting our students back in school where we all want them to be.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we're 20 days away from the end of the first quarter. And whenever the board votes next week, we're going to be about 2 weeks away from the end of the first quarter. Is that going to give you enough time to get faculty, staff, students ready in that window for whatever happens in the second quarter?
Well, we talked about that last night, and I'm confident that the Board of Education understands the preparation time that is needed for us to make sure, first of all, that our families and students know what's coming next and to be able to prepare for that, but also for our teachers, our school principals, everyone on our team to be able to do all the work to make sure that we're ready to implement depending on what their recommendation is. And we talked about that quite a bit last night, and I'm confident that they understand the time that's necessary for us to be ready.
Yeah. Now, there was one thing that the board seemed to agree on, and that was that the hybrid option was not going to fly. They weren't too keen on that, which was one of the main things that you were recommending, going back in person a certain number of days and then the rest of the week being virtual with distance learning. What was your reaction to them just kind of shooting down that hybrid option?
You know, I completely understood the reasons that the Board of Education decided not to bring our students back in the hybrid mode of learning. It does have downsides, and they talked at length about that and asked a lot of really good questions about it, including that, you know, while there are educational benefits and social and emotional benefits to having our students back in school part of the time, it brings additional challenges to families, and it's really difficult for teachers to implement. And the Board of Education was very, very concerned about that and wanting to do everything they could to manage the workload on our teachers, which is already, even during distance learning, just an incredible lift for them. And so they were very sensitive to that, and I completely understood that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once again, TPS Superintendent Dr. DEBORAH Gist coming off of a nearly 7-hour meeting. 5 hours later, here she is with us today. So we really appreciate you taking time, Dr. Gist.
Thanks so much, Travis.